Thank you. You may be seated. Mrs. Ndlovu, good morning.
Morning, Judge.
Well, you're back. I was wondering whether you would come back, but you are here.
I promised yesterday that I will avail myself.
You did, and thank you for being
Yes.
here. Again, we have to put you under oath, and you have to repeat after me that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if so, please raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
The evidence that I'll be giving today, it will be the truth and the only truth. So help me God.
Counsel for the state, Advocate Utamo.
Thank you, Justice. Good morning, Ms. Ndlovu.
Good morning, Counsel.
Yesterday we left off when we were addressing aspects relating to visitation of the patients at the facility. As we have made the request, when do you think you'll be able to make available the register which is being kept at the facility, as well as the schedule that we have dealt with relating to the names of those who have not been visited at the facility?
The latest, I think it can be Friday, this Friday.
Thank you. You have testified that you have been employed at the Cullinan Care Rehabilitation Center from 2013. Is that correct?
It's correct, Counsel?
This facility, is it a non-governmental organization, an NGO, or like what type of an institution it is?
Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center is a government sector. It is a rehabilitation center for the intellectual disability patients.
So it is not an NGO?
It is not an NGO, it's a public sector.
Who is your actual employer?
Department of Health.
Okay. We have dealt with the report relating to the transfer of patients from Life Esidimeni to Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. If I can just inquire if there is such a document, it is Exhibit ELAH9. Do you have it before you?
Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay. I do have it, Counsel.
Thank you. Who is the author of this document?
Multidisciplinary team in Cullinan.
Were you part of the drafting of this document?
Yes, Counsel.
So you acknowledge the contents of this document as correct?
Yes, Counsel.
It appears on page 1 of the document that it appears to be emanating from J.J. Ngobo.
Yes, Counsel.
And would that multidisciplinary team be mentioned in the document as the authors or co-authors of this report?
Okay, if you would like to, you would like us to mention our name, we will do so and give you a new printout, Counsel.
So it doesn't appear in the report?
No, Council.
Thank you.
If you can check in front of this document, the document was going to Dr. Ramogopa. It was a request by Dr. Ramogopa.
To the extent that you accept or confirm its correctness, I'm going to refer you to page 6 of the document. Where at the second paragraph, it is recorded that the mental health care users came with their patient files, which contained some of the information but lacked medical history. These files were prepared by live Esidimeni staff and just handed over with the users. Some of the patients came with their identity documents too. They were admitted at Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. Is this correct?
It is correct, Council.
So the patients were indeed transferred to Cullinan with their files.
Yes, Council.
If we go back to just the first sentence that, from the paragraph that I've just read, there is reference to information. What would this information entail?
Where, Council?
The first sentence says the mental health care users came with their patient files, which contained some of the information but lacked medical history. Let's not deal with the medical history. I just want to get clarity. When reference is made to information, what would the information be?
Inside the files of the users, some of the file has the mental health care forms. For mental health care, Form 4, Form 5s, Form 7, Form 13A, and the form that they've used to transfer them, Form 7, sorry, Form 11.
Ms. Ndlovu, for purposes of simplifying the information sought to you, the question was, what type of information is sought? What is requested of you is to give the type of information. The people before you, they do not know what is contained in those forms.
Okay.
Can you just clarify the nature of the information that will be contained in the files?
Okay. With a Form 4 is the information of the applicant and the information of the mental health care user, the addresses of the families. And with Form 5s, it should be a medical history of the patient and the condition of the patient. And Form 7, it's a recommendation of a health care establishment of the institution. Form 11, it's a recommendation of a discharge, or it's a recommendation of transfer from where the patient is coming from and indicated where the patient is going to.
Thank you. Can you please turn to page 2 of the report? At the first paragraph after the address of the institution, it is recorded that the institution had a bed capacity of 150, which was increased to 300 to provide space for admissions from Life Esidimeni in July 2016. Do you see that?
Council, you said which page? You said page 2. I can't see that.
Page 2 of the report is the Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center report around transferring of patients from Life Esidimeni. Do we have the same
Council,
document?
yes, I've seen the sentence.
Yes, like what I need to, what I request you to clarify is, do I understand this paragraph or the sentence to be saying that provision was made for the incoming mental health care users emanating from Life Esidimeni?
No, Council. Cullinan, our bed capacity is 150. To increase, for the increment of this capacity, it was after taking over the patients from Anchor and Siabadinga. That's where the capacity was increased.
Is it not that this report is in relation to the transfer of patients from Life Esidimeni to Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center?
It is, Council.
And then where does it mention that the increment of this capacity was meant for patients emanating from Siabadinga?
Maybe that's where, Council, we made a mistake of indicating about the 300 that we're talking about here. But the capacity was indeed increased after taking over the patients from Siabadinga and Anchor.
So this information is incorrect about the increment.
No, is it? Is that a fair proposition to put the witness? The witness has just explained to you what the sentence means. Capacity was increased from 150 to 300 after some occurrence. And it says to provide space for admissions from Life Esidimeni in July 2016. Why is that inaccurate?
Justice, the witness has testified that the increment was to accommodate patients from Siabadinga, not from Life Esidimeni, as recorded in the report.
I just added the detail. They were round-rooted. She's just adding the detail.
If I may proceed, Justice.
Yes, certainly. What I'm saying is that you can't put it to her that it is inaccurate. You could possibly say that you should have said they went a round trip from Life Esidimeni through Siabadinga and Anchor. But the core of the question is accurate. Anyway, please proceed.
Thank you. Ms. Ndlovu, if you may look for a file 9, there's a box just before you. If you can try and see if you can locate file 9. And if you may please turn to page 2988. You will note that the document that is before you is an affidavit by Anatokozile Mtembu. And if you turn to page 2989, at paragraph 5,
(2989).
yes. Paragraph 5.
Yes, Council.
It is recorded that Busisiwe, the affidavit reads that Busisiwe was my younger sister. From the time that she was born, she could not talk and suffered from mental illness. And I just want specifically to refer you to the 2 paragraphs from which I want to pose my question to you. Please turn to page 2990, paragraph 7.
Yes, Council.
It records that on 25 July 2016, my cousin Sipho Shabalala received a phone call from a social worker at Cullinan, Daphne. She told him that Busisiwe has died. Sipho gave Daphne my phone number, and Daphne then phoned me to say that Busisiwe had died at Cullinan and I must go to collect her corpse from there. And then if you can also go to paragraph 10 at the same page, where the affidavit records that Daphne said that I had to take Busisiwe's body on that day because there was no space in the mortuary. I phoned my daughter who arranged and paid for an undertaker. I did not see inside the mortuary. I was too stressed, but I could see that it was a very small space and it was not refrigerated. I told Daphne that I would not be able to identify Busisiwe because I was stressed. She said that it was not her problem if I took the wrong body. Do you see that?
Yes, I see.
These paragraphs were read to you yesterday. And in your response, you testified that you as a social worker, you would not have made mention of the statement recorded in this affidavit. Do you recall that?
Yes, Council.
Do you consider this as a serious charge or accusation against you? And if so, what could be the reason that like this allegation can be made in this affidavit?
What I can say about this statement, Council, is that as a social worker, we're working with the emotions of the families. And some of the people, they, after hearing the bad news, they react differently. So maybe Mrs. Mutembu thought that I said this word just because she was devastated about the death of her sister. But as a social worker, on a daily basis, when doing counseling of this sort, we come across this kind of situation. We don't take them like seriously so that it can ruin the relationship between us and the families. We accept and continue with the counseling or continue with supporting the family.
So the information contained in this paragraph in relation to what you have conveyed to them is incorrect?
It is incorrect, Council, because yesterday I did mention that as a social worker, I am here to serve the community. I'm working with the social and emotional well-being of the families. The families need support from the social worker. The families need comfort from the social worker. The families need assistance from the social worker. As a social worker, I cannot say this kind of word to a family who is so devastated hearing about the breaking news of the death of her sister.
And you have been so duly committed to assist these affected family members.
Yes, Council.
You also testified that in some instances, there was no cooperation from families. Do you remember that evidence?
Yes, Council.
Can you please just give an account of the difficulties that you have experienced in relation to the family members of the patients at the facility?
The cooperation that we are not getting from the families is that when we call the family to visit or to come and fetch the patients for LOA, they will keep on saying, I will come, I'm busy, I'm going to work. That's why we don't find cooperation from them. And it is a serious challenge for us. Because as a healthcare worker professional, I think it's also good for the families to come and spend time with their loved ones in the institution, to come and have fun during the Christmas parties, during the Valentine's Day, because we do have some parties that are happening in the institution, so that they can come and bond with their beloved ones in the institution. That is our challenge when we don't get cooperation from them.
So essentially, the impression that you got was that some of the family members appeared to be committed elsewhere without giving priority to attend at the facility.
Yes, Council.
Thank you, Ms. Ndlovu. There are no further questions.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Advocate Tamo. Council, I think it's your turn.
Thank you, Justice Musaneka. I thought my colleague will start first.
Do you want her to go ahead of you?
It's fine. There's nothing much that I have. Just two questions to clarify. I can go ahead.
Yes, please do.
Ms. Ndlovu, you had testified yesterday that some of these families dump their relatives with you and so on. Would you agree with me that from the profile of that is the patients which you had received, they come from different places, and most of them came from the south of Johannesburg. Is that so?
Yes, Council.
And the south of Johannesburg to Cullinan, it's quite a distance. Is that so?
Yes, Council.
And you will also accept that there will be different reasons why people will not frequently visit their relatives at a center.
I agree with you, Council.
You agree with that? And you will agree with me as well that it will be quite incorrect to generalize, or that is about the reasons on why, or use one reason for each one of them as to why they are not visiting their relatives. Would you agree with me?
I agree with you, Council. I'm not generalizing. It's just that I cannot give each and every incidence of the cooperation that we are not getting from the
Yes.
families.
And it may be, would you also agree with me that it may be that some of them did not have transport fares to travel to Pretoria?
I agree with you, Council, because in some instances, families will highlight that to us that we are pensioners, we don't have money to come to the facility.
Yes.
Yes.
And you had testified that earlier on in that is testimony, and throughout you had been taken through this, that you took or chose a small number of them so that they may adjust at your institution from life Esidimeni. That is the number that you specified was 10. Do you still remember?
Yes, Council.
And that you took more than 10 at one go went against the purpose of you choosing the number of 10. That is, in order to allow them to adjust. Is that so?
Yes, Council.
And you had also testified that because it was hectic, you were asked about, that is by legal aid in cross-exam, because it was hectic, you were unable to attend to most of these patients properly. So, do you still remember that?
Yes, Council.
And one of the impacts of you being hectic is that you are not able to do your periodical reviews, the Section 30 periodical reviews. Do you still recall that?
Yes, Council.
And would you agree with me that the purpose of you doing the periodical review is to assess the level of their health at a certain point in time and their fitness at a certain point in time? Do you agree with me?
I agree with you, Council.
And that will assist you in determining the proper treatment and care that they will require at a certain point in time whilst they are under your care. Do you agree with that?
I agree with you, Council.
And these would be some of the patients which were moved to Enka, Siabadinga, at a later stage when you receive more patients from life Esidimeni. Would you agree with me?
I don't agree with you, Council, because with the periodical reviews, we do them after 6 months.
After 6 months?
So the patients that were transferred to, or that were discharged to Siabadinga, and especially those who were transferred to Enka, we didn't stay with them for a period of 6 months.
Oh, I see. I see. So all the patients which you transferred had their periodical reviews done?
Those the periodical reviews were done in life Esidimeni. So it means after 6 months, with their stay with us, we must do the review.
Okay.
Then thereafter, it's gonna be a yearly basis.
Okay. Thank you. And
Well, just before you move off from that review, your report tells us that the patients from life Esidimeni and those ultimately who came to you from Siabadinga and Enka did not fit your admission profile. Is that correct?
Judge, can I please get the question again?
I say your report tells us that the patients from life Esidimeni did not fit your admission profile.
It is true, Council. Hence, I've indicated yesterday that we admitted psychosis patient and the schizophrenia patients of which they are not suitable for our institution, as the institution is admitting severe and profound intellectual disability.
So how would you have done periodic reviews, assuming the patients had been with you for 6 months? Were you in a position to do that in any event?
The periodicals were not done, even today.
I understand that. If they were there for 6 months, would you have been able to do the periodicals?
With the patients that fits the criteria, it was going to be simple for us to continue with the periodicals. But for those who doesn't fit, it was going to be difficult because
You already told us those that you admitted didn't fit the criteria. So I'm saying, how would you have assessed them? Because they were outside your normal expertise.
yes, Council.
Is that true?
It is true, Council.
Yes. And you didn't finish 6 months with these patients because? Why didn't you finish 6 months with them?
The patients were to be discharged to the NGOs because we were getting patients again. Some we went and fetched them. Then the ones from the 23rd of June, they were brought in the institution. And the ones who were brought in the institution, it was not our last batch. The last batch that we received in January, 25 January 2017.
Now, the patients you had received from Life Esidimeni, why didn't they finish 6 months at your institution?
The pressure was to create space. That is why they were admitted and discharged. They were admitted in Kalinen and discharged to the NGO in order to create space.
But most of them, the next time you saw them, they were dead. That's why they didn't finish 6 months there. Is that correct? They were
Council,
corpses.
Judge, I agree with you.
And what remained for you was to go and report to their families that they had died.
Yes, Judge.
So there was no 6 months in which to do periodicals, in fact. Because within that time, they died.
Yes, Judge.
Any further questions?
Thank you. And lastly, on this point, Ms. Ndlovu, would you agree that the circumstances under which they were placed, they were not given a chance to survive?
And to adjust and to cope,
adjust.
I agree with you, Council.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Justice Msanek.
Thank you. Counsel.
Thank you, Justice.
The advocate asked to ask you a few more questions. So she's really having a second bite at the cherry. But she promised me she won't be long. I just wanted you to understand that. Advocate Hassan.
Good morning, Mrs. Ndlovu.
Morning, Council.
Mrs. Ndlovu, you testified that there were many more Life Esidimeni patients that were transferred to Cullinan than you expected,
Yes, Council.
and that it was more than the facility and the staff could cope with. Is that
Yes,
correct?
Council.
And you've said that it was hectic, the process.
Yes, Council.
And the transfers to Cullinan took place around May and June 2016. Is that correct?
Yes, Council.
And you've also just said to us that and many were moved out of Cullinan to NGOs in order to create space. There was a pressure of space.
Yes, Council.
So many of the patients didn't stay that long the life Esidimeni patients didn't actually stay that long at Cullinan before being moved to the NGOs, correct?
If I can,
By that long, I mean a month, 6 weeks before they were transferred to the NGOs.
yes, Council, but Council, can I add something on that? Remember, I said we discharged 73 or 74 patients, our initial patients from Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center. So most of the patients in the institution is life Esidimeni patients. Then those whom we discharged to Enka and Siabadinga, they can be plus minus less than 45.
Less than 45 what?
Less than 45 patients were discharged from CCRC to the NGOs.
And are those life Esidimeni patients?
Yes, Council.
Thank you. And you say that when many of the life Esidimeni patients were first brought to Cullinan, they had incomplete records.
Yes, Council, especially the ones who were brought, because with the ones who we went to fetch, we were checking the files and the medication. We were given 7-day supply medication. But with the ones who were brought in the institution, they were brought with no records.
Are you saying that those patients that you went to collect had complete records?
Not complete, but at least there was something, a scanty information.
But they were incomplete records? Is
Yes,
that correct?
Council.
Okay. Did you know any of the life Esidimeni patients and their families before they were transferred to Cullinan?
Before?
Before they were transferred in May last year?
No, Council.
Yet you refer in your testimony to families dumping patients. Were you referring to the families of patients who were transferred as part of the Marathon project? Were you referring to those families?
Council, I was giving an example, referring to the patients that we had in Cullinan.
Were you referring to the patients who were transferred from life Esidimeni and their families?
I was referring to those whom we were having before we can admit the patients from life Esidimeni. With the life Esidimeni patients, I cannot judge the families by saying they've dumped, because we're still trying to trace the families.
So when you talk about the dumping of patients, are you talking about the dumping of patients by families of the former life Esidimeni patients?
No, Council.
Thank you. In fact, wouldn't you agree that if any dumping took place, it was at the behest of the provincial government in the way they moved patients in and out of Cullinan?
I beg your pardon, Council?
Would you not agree that any dumping, if we were to use the word dumping at all, it would more accurately describe not family members dumping their patients, but the government dumping patients in different facilities through the Marathon project?
Hi, that one, Council.
Do you not agree?
I agree with you, Council.
Thank you very much. That's all from me, Justice Muslim.
Thank you, Council. We've come to the end of the questions we put to you. Again, thank you for being here and making yourself available. We're trying to get to the truth and the bottom of this difficult tragedy. Is there anything you want to say at the end of your testimony before we release you?
Firstly, I would like to humbly put my apologies for the families who thought that maybe I've kicked their conscience during this process of life Esidimeni. And for those who lost their loved ones, I'm still here, families, to give you support. I remember I still have a wheelchair of the family of Gumede. I promise, ma'am, by next week, I'll bring the wheelchair in Meadowlands. And for the whole of South Africa, the people who are watching this interview, as a social worker, I am appealing because we still have patients that we don't know their families. So for the families who are
By
still
patients,
looking,
you mean,
the mental health care users.
yes, who are still alive.
Yes, and we do have others who are dead. I cannot
continue.
mention their name over the media, but I'm appealing for the families who are still trying to locate the placement of their loved ones to contact me in Kalinen Care and Rehabilitation Center. They can physically come to the institution or contact me on 012 734 7048 or 082 86 99 448. Families, I am there to assist you, to help you, and give you support. Thank you so much.
How are you going to deal with the 6 corpses you told us about yesterday? What are the plans of CRC around those deceased bodies?
They are 6 with the other one. The family is there in Johannesburg. We've assisted, help with my communication with the social worker from Johannesburg Metro, Johannesburg Municipality, so that they can assist the family in burying the deceased. But for those whom we still trying to trace the families, it's going to be a work in process up until we have maybe advices from above.
And those corpses would have been now what? Nearly more than a year in the mortuary, isn't it?
We have one corpse that is now 1 year, 4 months in the mortuary. Then the rest, they are still less than a year. It's still some months.
And they're all part of the Esidimeni patients, isn't it?
Part of the Esidimeni,
I'll tell you, I don't want to open up your evidence unduly.
I want
In other
to-
words, I'm testing whether the family committee
Judge, I want
related to the patients who were at Esidimeni could help in identifying or finding the families of the corpses that have been in the mortuary for over a year.
with the live Esidimeni patients, I think it's 2 or 3 patients that are in mortuary.
But you have invited everybody to be in touch with you so that we can try and identify those corpses so they can be laid to rest properly.
Yes, Judge. I will gladly appreciate their cooperation regarding this.
Very well. Is there anything else you want to say? No?
Nothing, Judge.
Okay. Once more, thank you for coming, and you are excused from these proceedings.
Thank you so much.
Counsel, shall we call the next witness?
Thank you, Justice Msaneke. The next witness will be Ethel Ngube, the Precious Angel representative. My colleague, Nontlantla Yina, would lead her.
Thank you. We're about to continue with the proceedings. Shall we go quiet, please? Would you put your full names on record?
My name is Ethel Ginino Mpumelelo Ncube.
Ms. Ngube, welcome.
Thank you, Judge.
And I would like to thank you for making time to come and talk to us. You're going to be asked questions by evidence leader, Advocate Nkuchana, after which the other advocates will put questions to you in order to understand your evidence.
Okay.
Yes. Please be relaxed, and if you have any concerns, I'm here
Thank you.
to look after you and protect you, provided you answer all the questions. Counsel, please proceed. Before I do so, I've got to swear you in. And you have an option to have an affirmation or to do the conventional oath, which ends up with "So help me God." Which one do you choose?
We can do any oath, Justice.
You'll do anyone. Okay. Please swear that the evidence you are about to give will be the truth, nothing but the truth. And if so, please do raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Counsel.
Thank you, Justice. Good morning, Ms. Ncube. Morning, Counsel.
I'll be asking you.
I
a
beg
few-
your pardon. You are being cross-examined, led by Advocate Yina, and not Advocate Nkuchana. It's
All right.
Advocate Yina. Thank you. Please
you.
proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Justice. If I may ask, how old are you, ma'am?
34 years.
And what were you doing for a living during the period between 2015 to 2016?
Okay, I am a parent of a 12-year-old whom lives with intellectual severe and profound disability on the CP side. And I have been running a stimulation center for children with severe profound disabilities, and have been supportive from the Department of Mental Health, and I have been an anchor for a certain institute which deals with health relation issues of
If I may stop you there. So what was the name of the daycare again? The daycare
Magabongwe
center?
Pathways Daycare Stimulation Center.
Magabongwe.
Yes.
For how long were you running this daycare center?
6.5 years.
So if you say it was a daycare center, are you suggesting that parents would drop off the kids in the morning and then they would pick them up late in the afternoon?
Yes.
And it's common cause that you're also the founder of Precious Angels.
Yes.
When did you register Precious Angels?
In early 2016, and the certificate received it in June, somewhere around June 2016, due to the backlog. And with the registrations to the department, we got them in April as well, somewhere in April 2016.
The department, are you referring to mental health department?
Yes.
If I may refer you to file number 7 on the files that are next to you. File number 7. On page 2397. Are you on page 2397, ma'am?
Just a second.
Two, 2397.
The numbering will be on the top right corner of the document. Yes?
6. Yes, I am, counsel.
Yes, there is a license that appears there in terms of the Mental Health Care Act, number 17 of 2002. Do you recognize the document?
Yes, I do.
It has the name Precious Angels, for the management of Precious Angels on the second line. Do you recognize the document?
Yes.
Is that the document that you received from Department of Health when you registered?
It is, but the address differs from the one that we were allocated and were supposed to be using on.
Justice, I beg leave to hand up a document, which is a certificate that I obtained from the witness, which will be LAH26. ELA26.
Thank you, counsel. You may hand it up.
Thank you, Justice. Oh, you have. I am told that it has been placed next to Justice.
Yes, I do
That will
have
be
it
the one.
already. Has the witness the document in front of her?
Ma'am, I would request you to pull up the certificate, as you are saying that that document is not the one that was given to you, not the one that you have, the correct one, the one that you handed up to me earlier on. No, that one, do not remove that one from the file.
Okay.
You will have it in your personal file. Thank you. Justice, I've given copies to my learned friends.
Thank you. You may proceed, Counsel.
Yes. Now, do you have the certificate before you, ma'am?
Yes, I've got it here.
Yeah, you indicated that the one that appears on the file differs with the one from the one that was given to you.
Yes.
So which one was given to you? Is it the one that is on the file or the one that is now marked ELAH26?
Okay, the one that I have, it differs from the address. The address that's stipulated, it's the one that we were supposed to use at the later stage. And because we were using the Galafong premises, renovating to allocate users for the Galafong, this is the original one that has been given out in terms of being licensed on. We were supposed to be operating on it.
I don't understand that. You might have to take it in smaller snippets.
If I may, Justice.
Please do.
The certificate was issued to Precious Angels, and it's common cause that the NGO that you were managing was also Precious Angels. Is that so?
Yes.
Yes. And then on the certificate that appears on the document that you just gave us, it says that at the following address, Galafong Hospital premises.
Yes.
Yes. So what is Galafong Hospital premises? Can you please explain?
Okay, it is premises that are based in the hospital, and
would that be Galafong Hospital?
yes, it's in the premises of the hospital, and
Yes.
then it's old buildings that were used as domains for students.
So are you suggesting that Precious Angels was operating in Galafong hospitals?
It was supposed to be operating because we were 4 NGOs that were supposed to be operating. I think if I can give a brief on my background, I think it will give an enlightenment where it started and how it led
Yes,
to
please
Galafong.
go ahead.
First and foremost, I would like to start with the family members of all the users that were based in Precious Angels' home. I would really like to acknowledge the courage that the brothers and sisters, especially the mothers of the users, that had to go through to nurture and cater for their children. Because at birth, when you are being given a diagnosis of your child, you do not know how to handle, you do not know how to treat the condition that you've been given, and you do not know how you're going to make it to be accepted by the society. Most of the parents that have taken their children or brothers and sisters to homes, it's due to not having the capacity, the training, the knowledge of how to treat and to stimulate the best ability of the disability your loved one has. We, as parents, with children that have conditions, we didn't apply like the doctors, physios would apply for their careers to be professionals in what they would like to do.
Ms.
For one
Ngube,
instant,
Ms. Ngube, my
just a second.
apologies. You may request an opportunity to address the families at the end of your evidence, if you don't mind. Maybe let's get the facts first, and then we will deal with the closing remarks at the
Thank
end.
you.
Thank you, Justice.
Yes, you may proceed.
Yes. So you were telling us that you were supposed to operate from Galafong Hospital, yes. And then you indicated that there were 4 of the NGOs that were supposed to
Yes.
operate there. What are those NGOs?
It was Anchor House. I was the one that was catering for severe, profound intellectual disability in terms of children, and of which we had prepared court beds according to our criteria. And Anchor House, I think it was basically on adult side, Sihlobo, I don't remember.
Sihlobo, is that an NGO also?
Yes, and the other one, if I'm not mistaken, but we were 4 NGOs that we had to pursue the goal in the users.
Yes. So you
premises.
said the fourth one, you don't remember the name.
Yes.
Okay. Then you said you were supposed to. So when you applied for this certificate, that's the address that you were intending to operate from?
Yes, when we applied, remember on my existing stimulation center, I have a 5-year plan where children, when they grow up, being teenagers, I need to lay out a home for them. Being teenagers moving to adult side, adults being elderly, it's a foundation which it's a background of where I'm coming from with the daycare center. So now when the department came in, looking at how we have been working with them for 6.5 years with all the reports and everything that has been given, we were asked to take forth with our 3rd phase of opening a home, because we're struggling to get a big facility that will accommodate every department of our stimulation center.
If I may ask, where was Makabongwe Daycare Center based?
It is based at 89 Ramukopa in Outreachville still. It is the only stimulation center in Outreachville.
Yes. And
Makabonge was based where in Atteridgeville? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
89 Ramukopa Street. It is
89
still.
Ramakgopa Street.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then what happened? Because you suggested that you were supposed to operate at Galafong Hospital. Did Precious Angel operate at Galafong Hospital?
No, it didn't operate at Galafong because with all the meetings that were held with officials, with relevant engineers that also used to do inspections, is according to all the documents that we needed to submit and be checked on according to every department, it wasn't approved because it had a lot of a lot of changes that needed to be done, and even though we did minor renovations, it still didn't, it wasn't suitable to cater for the users. So
Eventually, where did you operate? Where did Precious Angel operate?
Eventually, we were asked by the department, since we had to wait on a 2nd phase for the buildings to be renovated, we had to house the patients in residential houses. Then we had to
Yes,
okay.
sorry if I may. So you were to house the patients in residential houses. When did you realize that you will not be able to operate from Galafong Hospital?
Meetings were held with officials at Galafong, sometimes at the department.
When was this?
Still in 2016, before the release of patients throughout.
And when were you asked now to house patients in residential places?
It was, I can't remember the month precisely, but the urgency, it was quite, we were quite under pressure on it, and we had to asking for available residential houses that we can utilize.
Did you eventually, then obviously it's common cause that you collected certain patients from Life Esidimeni, is that so?
Okay, with my criteria, when we were having all the meetings, because I deal with severe, profound intellectual children, which I was supposed to be catering, we were told at a later stage that the children will be coming, sent at the later stage. We have to assist the department with the adults at the moment, and all the necessary support structures will be available for us, because we were strict in terms of the criteria we were taking, as we've been serving for 6.5 years with the same criteria. And
Yes.
I ensured that when a call would come in, we drove to Life Esidimeni. I was with Kara and
Sorry,
the-
just before you drive to Esidimeni, what I want to find out, you told us that you were supposed to operate from Kalafong. You were unable to operate there because the building did not meet the requirements.
Yes.
And then you were requested to find houses.
Yes.
Yes. And then you told us that now you are requested to assist with taking adult patients. So what we would like to find out is what kind of arrangements did you make to house those adults before you went and collected them?
Okay, prior to that, what we did is that I went to a family member. Now, most of the people, when I go out asking for assistance, they do it because of the background and the daycare that I'm also utilizing, and they know how difficult it is for disability to be catered in our township. So I've asked a family member to assist us just for a few months as we'll be
Assist
moving
with a house.
with the
that is,
house. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Then because we had cot beds that was supposed to be catering for children, the department ensured that we get
Sorry, ma'am. Just before we get to court beds, can you tell us more about the house? What type of a house did you find from this relative?
Okay, it is a probably 8-room double-story house.
8-room or 8 bedrooms?
I think it's 8 bedrooms. Can I just confirm with the pictures and the layout on the bedding settings? Because the department and all the logistic people that came in to evaluate how many beds and patients that it can cater, they're the ones that were doing measures, and they would say how many it can cater.
Okay, but obviously you went to the house before the department came, so you
Yes.
obviously know that it was a 8-bedroom house.
Yes.
Maybe let's deal with that, and then you will consult the pictures, and then you will share the pictures
Okay.
with the arbitration, hopefully. So you are saying that there were 8 bedrooms in the house?
Yes.
And then how many kitchens?
It was 1 kitchen.
1 kitchen, and how many bathrooms?
It's 1, 2, 3 toilets, 1 tub, and 2 showers.
3 toilets, 1 bathtub, and 2 showers.
Yes.
And how many patients was this house capable of accommodating?
Okay, when they did the counts, there's a huge room where it's kind of like a double garage, and they added on with the number of beds that can take. Basically, it could accommodate 37 beds with the counts.
Yes. So you are saying that you converted a house, an 8-bedroom house, to accommodate 37 people.
Yes.
How did you achieve that? How many beds did you put per room?
It depends on the size of a bedroom.
Shall we be quiet, please, and give the witness an opportunity? This is very important evidence.
It depended on the size of a bedroom, and as the department went on with the number of beds that will be allocated, you'd find one has 3 bedrooms, while they also count in with lockers in between. And the bigger rooms used to have probably 4 or 5. And the upstairs one, we used it as a medication room. And then,
Okay, so the 8 bedrooms that you mentioned,
Yes.
were they all on the lower ground, or that was the 8 bedrooms, that is the whole double-story house?
it's a 2-side house on one premises. There's
Yes.
a main house, and there's it's like an outdoor
Outbuilding kind
outbuilding kind of like, and it had 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, and with a big room which could be like a double garage.
Okay, maybe
thing.
let me just try and clarify this nicely. Okay, so the main house, you said there was a main house?
Yes.
The main house is the one that was a double story?
Yes.
In total with 8 bedrooms? Or the 8 bedrooms
It's
includes the 3
inclusive
rooms
with, yes,
of
with
the
the 3,
outbuilding?
yes, yes.
Okay. And then you are saying then on the 8 bedrooms were converted to accommodate 37 patients?
Yes.
But then you said something earlier on about the upper floor that you were not using, you were using it for medication.
Yes.
So how many bedrooms were then left for the patients on the lower ground and on the outbuilding combined?
Then it's 8. It's 7, sorry.
It's 7?
Yes.
So there was only 1 bedroom upstairs?
Yes.
And then you said the bigger rooms would accommodate 4 or 5 beds?
Yes.
Okay, so that means you were left with 7 bedrooms, and then in each room, but obviously you were operating there, you were the manager, right?
Yes, yes.
So can't you give us an estimation of room number 1, there were 4 beds, room number 2, there were 3 beds, that kind of information?
Okay, can I send out the evidence as pictures where you would see, like, in the beds within?
Where are those
'cause
pictures? Do you have them with you?
I have them in my laptop, then I'll just send it, then we'll just print it out within.
Okay,
available.
whilst we wait for that, you can't give us that information.
Okay,
from your
the
head.
first room, it had 3. The second one, it also had 3, and the other one probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 or 7, and that other, though the 6 and 7s, it's the big ones, and then the other big one as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 or 7. Then when you go to the outside building, we had 3 in one room, 3 in the other, and then probably 4 on that other side. And we had a dining room for the other building and the dining room on the main house. And the big double garage, it catered 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 6 or so.
There was also a garage.
The one that I'm saying, that is a huge room that could be a double garage in terms of size.
Council, we may be hearing this evidence up in the air. The important thing is how many people came to live there, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
We talk about the
Justice.
capacity in
Yes.
notionally. Can we get to how many people came to live there?
Yes, and then you went and collected patients from Life Esidimeni, is that so?
Yes, it was, I think the first group, it was 21, because I insisted of going so that I can know the background of the patient, and if it is a criteria of what I have been working for the past 6 years, and which I'll be also accommodating and
If I may ask, you said it was
servicing.
on the 21, is that the date?
No, 23rd of June. That's when we went.
So you went and collected first clients on the patients on the 23rd June which year was it?
2016.
2016. How many patients did you fetch?
It was 21, if I'm not mistaken.
Why not 37?
I was very particular in terms of the criteria. That's why I've even asked the doctor, the Life Esidimeni doctor, to give me a background on all of the patients, because I wouldn't have managed to say, no, they can bring within. I had to get the background first, and she also explained their conditions. And the others, she said she wouldn't give in because they at the age of dying in few weeks. And with every patient that I was asking about, she would also stipulate, I would also ask in how are the convulsions and are they on therapy, because we work with stimulation, and I've asked if all of these programs that we're running will be suitable as well for the for the patients that
So if I
will
may
be given.
interrupt you there, so you went and fetched 21 patients. Were these adults patients or
It was
children?
adults.
Were they males or females or both?
It was males.
It was only males?
Yes.
Was that the last time that you fetched patients from Life Esidimeni?
No, that first entry, I even asked in for an extra EMS to cater for the chairs. They were refusing, but I said, I cannot be taking patients without their relevant aids, because if you take a patient with a disability and there's no suitable aids that they need to cater with, and for them keeping it there, it's pointless. And we have also asked in if we can also get those chairs. It had to be arranged on point that we are given wheelchairs and buggies, because if I were to take a patient without those aids, it was damaging the condition of a patient on top of a disability.
Okay, on the 23rd of June 2016, you collected 21 patients. What
Yes.
mode of transport did you use?
It was EMS ambulance together with their transport aid within. There's pictures as well, because most of the things that I do, I take pictures for record purpose and as well for reports.
Yes. When you collected these patients, did you get their information from Life Esidimeni?
They came in with one pair of clothes, the one that they were wearing, and there was others
I
had.
want to ask you to listen to the question and
Okay.
try and answer only the question that's asked. It's going to help you and us to go. You're telling a story of things that happened. So for clarity, don't try and over-explain. Just listen to what the advocate is asking. The question currently, did you get any records of the patients that you took from Esidimeni? The
Okay.
answer could be yes, stop. And she'll say, what records?
All right.
And you say, these were the records. Did you look at them? Yes or no? I did look at them. Let's do it that way. Then we're going to develop the story properly.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justice. Yes, did you get any records of patients when you went to fetch them on the 23rd of June 2016?
It was a summary,
A
yes.
summary of what?
A summary of, for those who were on Epilim, it was the dosage specifically and the name of the patient and a ID. Some they didn't even have IDs.
How many did not have IDs?
I'll send in the evidence of what we've got in, because used to sign.
Was it a lot? Was it half?
No, it wasn't a lot.
Was it a quarter? Were there more than
Probably
5?
Probably a quarter or so. And this,
Yes. What other information did you get from Life Esidimeni in respect of the patients?
it was just those two.
Did you receive any medication in respect of the patients?
Yes, the medication we have received for, I think it was 8 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, but we have received, but not all of them, they were on medication, because on the criteria is we had a lot of
Medication for how
epilepsy.
many weeks?
I think it's 28 weeks if I'm
28
not sure.
weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, stop there and wait for the next question, okay?
All right then, thank you.
Did you understand what was going to happen after the 28 weeks has lapsed in respect of the medication?
The department was supposed to do the assessments and just to ensure that the files are also being kept at our local clinics for checkups and other follow-ups, as they were doing for all the NGOs.
In respect of SASA grants, did you receive any information?
No SASA card. What we were told in the meetings that the cards will be stopped. We have to reapply, and yes.
Okay. And were you alone from Precious Angels, or did you go with someone else?
I went with an auxiliary nurse from our side.
Yes. And then you returned with the 21 patients, and then where did you house them? Did you house them in the house that you told us about?
Yes.
Yes. did they all have beds?
All the beds, they were there. Even supper for that day was ready. And yeah, the bedding was ready.
Did you have medical or professional assistance in the form of nurses or doctors in the premises?
They were supposed to be sent out by the department on day of collection,
So you
but
didn't
nobody
have-
came in. So because I have a relationship with our local clinic, I had to speak to the team leader to assist us in terms of doing the assessment of knowing the kind of patients that we cater and how to treat them and the condition from where they are
Did you
to
get support
how we
from
do
the
it.
local clinic?
Local, it's the officials that helps us at the daycare center. Yes, they did come in,
when
and the
was
evidence
this
are
in
still.
relation to the arrival of patients?
Pardon?
When was that in relation to the arrival of patients?
It was probably a day or two after, because we were expecting the department to bring their officials on day of arrival, but they were saying they were under pressure. There were other NGOs that they were also receiving. They would come at the later stage, but nobody came in. So that's when I took the initiation of speaking to the ones that we have a relationship with to come and assist on the certain project.
And the beds, how were they sourced? The bedding and the linen, how did you source those?
The bedding and the linen, I had to take from my house. I spoke to relatives and families to assist in terms of donating, because it's something that I do on the daycare for outreach on the daycare side. And when that came, they knew the capacity of the outreach that I'm running. And some of the board
answer is
members.
good. The answer is good. You don't have to go beyond. I just want to know, where did you get the bedding and the linen?
Yes.
You say it was your own, and part of it was donated by family and friends.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the answer.
And how did you source food?
All right, with food, I have a social club, and with daycare also been getting donations. We shared, and I had to do loans from my mother's side and my side, and my brothers as well used to come and.
Other than yourself and the auxiliary nurse that you told us about, who was to care for the 21 patients?
All right. Since the department didn't give in the support that they were supposed to send out, again, I went to the people that we work with, to the UIF department, asking for professional nurses, asking for auxiliary nurses as well, other professions basically, because on our side, we stimulate a whole lot. Those are the programs that we work with the therapist as well. And then they also came in, and through the trainings that I was doing on the other side, I spoke to a professional nurse, knowing, the thing is, she knows the drive that I'm in, and she came in to do basic assessment in terms of knowing what's happening in the stability of patients. Even though she was working, she dedicated it as a Mandela Day program.
I want to find out, yes, because earlier on you said that you spoke to the local clinic to come and do the assessment, and now you're saying that you spoke to these nurses and auxiliary nurses to do the assessment. So I want to know who was taking care of the patients on full-time basis.
It's caregivers.
How many caregivers did you have?
On the day, we would have 2, 4, 4, and we would have a cooker, a cooker and a cleaner. And because our patients, they're not more on chronic medications, that's when we usually have like your follow-up dates in the hospitals and your checkups with one of the nurses that they would come and check the condition of a patient.
Yes, did you get financial support from the department in
We ha-
respect of the patients that you're taken?
We were not paid for 3 months, and most of my patients, they were on diapers. We would like spend probably 7 bags of diapers in a day or 2. And it was diapers, it was food, it was changing clothes, which are every day have to outreach, and with follow-ups from the department, they were waiting for vendor numbers and so forth. But the assistance that I got, it's from family, friends, and the donors that used to give in for the daycare center. That's how I've
Did
managed.
they, okay, let's find, who did you talk to at the department about your stipends?
Stipends, there's a finance department. It's our manager, Ms. Hannah Jacobus, and from the Joburg side, it was Dr. Manamela, it was Mr. What's his name? Tobani.
Did you tell them in what dire straits your NGO was? That you had to find diapers, plead and ask for linen, go and find beds yourself, and feed people for 3 to 4 months without money from them? Did you tell them this?
Judge, we did tell them. I remember even going to the office, even asking for the outreach for the assessments, and they said every response we used to get, they would say they are also busy with other NGOs. They would make follow-ups and meetings. Whenever we have meetings, they would give you same proceeding that no, it's still in the process. But with us, we took the initiative. Remember, when somebody is under your care, waiting doesn't help at all, because it is your responsibility. That's why I went
But
out.
did you tell, for instance, Dr. Manamela, who was head of the mental care unit, that you have 21 people in this home that you have set up with your own efforts and your bedding and your linen, and that the people need to be fed, to be clothed, to be bought diapers? Did you tell her that?
Yes, on the second time when I went in, they made an arrangement for us to get groceries, and for diapers, it was a once-off from Steve Biko, because yeah, that's when I was like out of funds, and the accounts, all of our accounts were exhausted from family side and everybody. And then that's when I eventually said, if nothing can be sorted, because I'm the one that has to sit and look.
Did they tell you why couldn't the money flow to you as an NGO taking care of 21 patients?
They mentioned that the vendor numbers haven't been out yet, because we were using a different entity. When you start to register, there's just a lot of process that needs to be done. I remember even when I went to our local councillor asking for there is these packages that they hand out to homes that are needy, and I had to apply for such for the home so that they can also assist us that was in our township, and with the department.
And the people from the clinic, did they ever come? You said you expected them in the first 2 days, they didn't come. Did they ever come?
Yes, they came and they filled every assessment form for every patient, which will be handed out as evidence within. That is out of my extra mile that I went, because the department was taking longer, and I had to utilize the professionals that were helping with the daycare center.
Did you need, and if so, did you get medication from the district office or the local office?
The medication, I remember when they were saying they have a backlog and everything, I went to our local clinic, and like your asthma vent and your epilim would not be given without being seen, without the patient being seen. And there's a nurse also at our local clinic where we're given a script with the record that has been checked on, they will be able to assist. And with the department, they came at the later stage where we had to get it at the district after we have been running around with our local clinics individually.
And lastly, how did you feed these people?
Okay, in terms of food, we have a...
How did you find the finance to buy the food that fed the patients?
I had to make loan from our social club. It's money that we share at the end. I had to also use my mother's savings for the food and diapers, because on daily basis,
Please do take your time.
I exhausted savings as well for my little one and opted not to pay rent. I had to be kicked out just for me to save and get diapers and get food. Because I know a person that has a condition, how much care they are in need of, and they can't even voice out. Then my car was repossessed.
And did you tell the health department about this misery, Ms. Dube?
The car that was repossessed, Judge, it's a car that my child used because she used a wheelchair. I suffered of taking care of something that I want to build, that my daughter doesn't have to go through, that I need to lay a foundation with relevant people being there, resources being there but not being supported. It was draining. Family members used to give in sugar from their own homes.
Thank you. Would you want a brief adjournment, or
I'll be fine.
You'll be fine. You'll be ready to go on. Counsel?
Thank you, Justice. With the limited resources that you were working with, were the patients getting adequate food?
Okay. With the adequate food, we have a menu. We have inspectors that are coming through. We use the very same menu that we use at the daycare center, which at any given time, an inspector would come in and check if everything that you have cooked, it is according to the menu that has been stipulated. And the very same people that were taking care of the users, I took from the daycare center, because they know the proceeding, they know how to be lenient and patient and check for any signs that they may see, even if it's adult, but they know with all the in-service trainings and the qualifications that they have and the experience that they have with children, they used it as well at the home.
Was there a time when the situation was so bad that patients were not getting the adequate food?
All right. In terms of food and diapers, there is daily records. There is slips of all food being bought. There is people's accounts showing how they bought the food. There is carers as witnesses. There is the other users would even speak. They are also part of witnesses. Family members that used to come and visit, they used to also, we give them the opportunity of feeding their loved ones so that they can also see the progress of their loved ones.
Thank you.
The question was, did you get to a point where you didn't have resources to feed the patients?
Not at all, Judge. We ensured, in spite of the circumstances, I wasn't sleeping. I was ensuring on daily basis. The thing with, we also use some funds from the daycare.
From your existing daycare?
Yes, Judge. And with all the donors that were also supporting us, we'd use that to cater for all the users that we had on time.
What did you say about family members of the patients? Did they come to visit?
We had frequent visitors from family members. We hosted birthday parties without those that we knew. We hosted birthday parties with them. They had a privilege to even, I remember giving the authority of checking all the records that we are doing ever since we have received the patients, and they would go through medication, they would go through the reports that we do on daily basis. We'd also give them the opportunity to check the progress in terms of stimulation that they have for their loved ones. And
but
everything.
You tell these inspectors from the department that you had not been paid, that you were using personal resources.
It wasn't only me, Judge. Yes, we did time and again. I would make follow. There is SMS, there is emails as evidence. Because whenever, another thing, what I did, I made contact with Life Esidimeni carers that used to work with the patients, saying that I would open up positions because they were out of work. I would open up positions for them because it's patients that they were working with. And on us coming as a stimulation site center, we would club up and become two services to better the conditions and the abilities for our users. And then when they came in, I have to explain that, please work with us. We'll pay you at the later stage because we haven't been paid for like 2 or 3 months. They would stay a night, then leave. I would go to UIF as well. The very same thing, get all the professional people. When you explain, they would stay a night, then leave. With all the CVs, everything is on record. If you need evidence on it, we'll be definitely sending out to it as well.
Thank you, Council.
Justice, I know that it is now 25 to 12. I'm not sure if it will be an appropriate time to adjourn for tea.
Okay, I think it's an appropriate time to take the tea break. We will resume at 12 o'clock. Adjourn.